Good morning and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, our guest this morning is Dr. Mawa Kalani, who is a palliative care doctor. It's great to see you again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yes.
I love coming to this.
Yes. Well, we love having you. We love having you.
Because it's always educational conversation that I think we have in it. You know, we're talking about palliative care, hospice care, and quality of life, but it's really quality of end of life, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's about really taking a person who has a serious illness, focusing in, really honing in on what means quality for them, fine-tuning it, making them live as long as possible under the palliative approach, and then when they come to their end-of-life experience, transitioning it over to hospice. But it is all about what is quality.
Yeah. And you know, we as a society, we have different definitions, it seems, for hospice and palliative. And, you know, I have in society written about those differences. But still, we both know that the doctors don't even know what the difference between palliative and hospice care is. And there is certainly something probably we should talk about is the financial side of the palliative and hospice. But let's first talk about the need for those individuals who are older adults and they're thinking about, you know, the direction they're going, and they want to make their own decisions.
Absolutely.
They want to assure that they hear the options, but then want to make their own decision. And that's part of what doctors have relinquished to their patients, which of course should be done by the medical profession. But how much have you seen in terms of the problems associated with just our profession, our medical profession, trying to make heads or tails of what palliative and hospice care is?
Well, you know, it's so interesting because I feel bad for our patients sometimes because it's daunting. It's extensive, and here we throw all these options into their lap, and they just can't see right or wrong through it. And unless they're getting someone to hand hold them through the process, they're truly confused.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, you know, at what stage they're at in their illness or, you know, where they're at with their condition. It's a confusing process to navigate our health system at this time.
And, you know, confusing, yes, but the discussion, like on this show, is to give you a premiere, an understanding, an awareness, the education to know when you are an older adult, you will be faced at some point in life about the direction you want your life to go.
And the first and foremost thing that I always advocate for is advanced care planning. So making sure that you not only specify, typically in writing, but at least even just having a conversation with the people that you love, what is important to you in regards to certain types of treatments, who is the right person to make decisions for you. I'll give you an example. I had a lovely patient last week who they called me to talk about advanced care planning with. And she had pancreatic cancer and was getting treatment. And what we talked about was that she had an extensive family. She had 7 kids. And that we talked about who would be the best person to make decisions for her, who knew her the best out of all those kids. And in fact, she didn't choose not a single one of her kids.
Wow.
She chose a daughter-in-law.
Oh, wow. Well,
And-
that's great, though,
and
isn't it?
but isn't
Because
it beautiful?
she had the awareness of
Yes.
who was more understanding of the situation and herself than
And she
even
wasn't,
her family members.
yes,
That's
and
great.
she wasn't even sure that she could designate a daughter-in-law. You know, here she is, she's in her 70s, she's undergoing cancer treatment, she's otherwise doing okay, and didn't know that that was an option. And through our education was, here are the forms, this is where you specify who can make decisions for you, who knows you the best. And here are some of the decisions that you may want to ponder and have a discussion about in regards to life-sustaining treatments, life support, things like that. Which were really not at the main focus. The main focus was really about who is determined to be your surrogate decision maker.
And isn't that interesting that
just
we
right.
don't really discuss or even think about that designation, do we? And you don't have to become 70 to
No.
start thinking about it, because
No.
anything can happen at any time. So
At any
you should
age.
be surveying your surroundings and the people that surround you to say, hey, if something comes up, if I have to make a snap decision, who am I going to choose to make
Right.
that decision with me?
Well, and then one of the things that I want your listeners to understand is that you can have an appointment with your physician to talk about advanced care planning. And that is fully funded by all the insurance companies, so it's paid for. And it's something that's pretty important, just as important as getting screened for cholesterol and diabetes and
Absolutely.
our wellness checks, the colonoscopy for those of you who are over 50.
Let's don't talk about those.
I'm sorry. But having advanced care planning is extremely important.
If you're driving to San Francisco and it's north, but that's all you're going to either go to AAA and get a map, or you're going to get on your cell phone and find the maps there and get your GPS. You are going to figure out how that route is going to be. We could do that when we're going from here to San Francisco, but why can't we do that when we're going from 30 to 70? And that's not miles per hour. That is 70 years old. You want to be able to have that plan already in place and be
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. And then it really does evolve smoothly. And I think that's the best way that I can describe it. Because I'm hoping that this little lady eventually gets some pretty good treatment, stabilizes, and continues to live as best as she can. There may be a time when she's in a procedure and her surrogate may be called upon to make a decision, whether it be a biopsy or what. Or there may be times when she just simply can't make decisions, and that surrogate will need to step up to the plate and start acting on that patient's behalf.
And when someone gets a life-threatening illness and they're not thinking about what to do, having that plan in effect gives you some sense of feeling that you're still going to be okay down the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
So there's some assurance, and having advanced care planning with your doctor, and going back to the medical professional who needs to be saying to each one of their patients, what are your plans? What do you want to do? How do you want to handle this?
Right.
They need to make their patients aware, just like you said,
Yeah.
cholesterol, blood pressure, all these things. You want to know these facts that could affect you in the long run. Well, the same thing happens when something should happen and you're not ready to make those decisions. You feel insecure. So the idea is set this up, make yourself aware that you have to have a discussion. You should sit down with not just your doctors, but your family members, and really start to think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. At the hospital, Russ's lung doctor called us, wanted the entire family to meet because of Russ's dire situation. And he explained to the entire family what would be happening and that palliative care would be available when it was needed at the time, and I had to provide the power of attorney since I had that power of attorney, and it was my responsibility to make the decisions along with the family.
Of course.
And it was very, very enlightening the way the doctor explained things to us all. And because my kids came down from Palmdale, and a couple of the grandkids did, and he explained to us what was going to happen, and that Russ was not getting any better, and he would not get any better.
I
And
see.
at some point, possibly I would have to call in the palliative care doctor. And I had to make that decision, which was not a very easy decision to make.
Not at all.
And but I did. I finally told Dr. Teresina and the lung doctor that I didn't want him moved to a care facility. I wanted him to stay in the hospital, and if necessary, we would pay for it rather than Medicare and the other insurance. And I finally had to make that decision to call in the palliative care nurse.
I see.
And she came in a couple of times and explained things to me. And at that point, we knew that Russ was not going to survive. And he was in a lot of pain. And
Yeah.
I asked the nurse to come in and check on him. And she gave him a shot of morphine. And in 30 minutes, he was gone.
Wow. Wow.
Fortunately, I had my daughter there and two close friends, but it was the best thing. He was not going to get any better. He was getting worse the whole time, and was not able to speak, but he could smile, and but that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And
But he also knew the struggles that he was going through. He was fully aware
Right.
of the challenge, the medical and healthcare challenges that he was facing, and he had known that for a long time.
oh yes,
But of
Yeah.
course, he wasn't ready to give up life, and he was more than willing to give it the fight, and that's what he did. He
Yeah.
yes,
kept
he did.
he knew that it was the struggle would be there, but he was willing. And there were several times we had him in the hospital, and he went home.
That's right.
And
true.
he then came back and was challenged again, and he went home. And so, but he knew that at some point he might not. But I think we all had prepared him for the ultimate challenge, and knowing that it was okay for him to let go. And that's
Yeah.
what I think he understood that. And when he got to that point, it was, okay, I've given it the fight, I've valued that effort, and we all did with him, but he moved forward like he wanted to do. But, he put that decision in your hands.
Right.
And we all knew that, Barb.
Right.
So that
Right.
was, and you knew that he was going to try real hard to fight, but you knew also that his wishes were that at some point, especially if he was suffering, that we would say, that's it. We'll put him on palliative, we'll put him on then hospice care, and we will make sure he doesn't suffer in the process.
Yeah.
And he did not.
He
No.
didn't.
No.
Yeah. I mean,
he
it sounds beautiful. It just sounds beautiful. He really was able to push through all the way to the end, have his family with him, be comforted, still smile. It sounds quite ideal.
Yeah, it was, and he was ready to go.
Yeah.
He was.
But
Yeah.
you know, he
I
also
wasn't ready to let him go,
Right.
course
but I
not.
knew I had to.
Of course
know.
not. Of course not.
But Russ, you know, his personality was, you know, he did so many things here in Santa Clarita, wonderful things, to move our community forward. But he knew that ultimate challenge was there, and he just kept the battle going when he could, and that was the great part of him, to be able to communicate what he wanted in his pathway, not to San Francisco, but to a place where he knew he was eventually going to be. And so with that, you know, I was so happy that the dignity that Russ had was preserved.
Yeah.
You know, you and your family, and then the medical staff and the doctors, they all gave that to Russ, because that's what he would have demanded for himself and for others around him. And he did do that, and that was the wonderful part about his end of life.
Yeah, it was. It really was. But it was an easy decision for me to make, yet it was very hard.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
You
Of
know?
course it was.
Yeah,
But I did the right thing. I know I did.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely you did.
110%.
But it was a lesson for you to see, and all of us to know that,
Yes.
you know, end of life is not easy, because
No.
we're leaving this world, or we're watching someone leave this world.
Yeah.
And, you know, that loss, that emotional loss that we have for the people around us, you know, our patients, our loved ones, that is, you know, to be honest with you, you know, the most precious moments of life that we can have and preserve in our minds and our memory, to be allowed to share with others, but also to help others move forward. So by having now this understanding in our country that we don't want people to suffer, that we want them to have dignity when they go.
Yeah.
That's important.
That's all
And-
that
And that
matters.
comes all from advanced care planning and understanding this conversation and discussion needs to take place beforehand.
Absolutely. Because imagine the suffering that could have been endured at that point. But
Right.
yet it was just beautiful.
Well, we're talking with Dr. Mawa Kalani here on the Senior Hour. We'll be back in just a few minutes on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Your building sign is essential to getting customers to your location. Feathers can help you get your business noticed. Feathers, now in a new, larger space with plenty of parking. They walk you through each phase of your project with special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will provide you with a sign that you can be proud of. Your sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Visit Feathers online at feathersigns.com or go to Feathers' brand new, bigger location at 26017 Huntington Drive off Rye Canyon, or call 298-9442.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
And now for your convenience, a second Honu location. at 23502 Lyons Avenue between Peachland and Apple.
You worry because your mom and dad aren't as active and are finding it more challenging to live on their own. The answer? Premier Assisted Living Community, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, now leasing. Located on Newhall Ranch Road, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, bringing comfort and luxury to assisted living. Your parents can enjoy 5-star amenities and panoramic views in a world-class community. No other assisted living community has this kind of luxury and amenities in our valley. Visit oakmontofsantaclarita.com.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host Dr. Jean Dorio on your hometown station 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Mawa Kalani, who's a palliative care doctor. And let's continue.
Yes, let's continue.
So we want to talk about the difference, what palliative care is, and should be, and how it's defined, and versus one who is then moves into hospice and
care.
end of life care. So let's talk about palliative. It is a discussion that needs to take place, but here on the Senior Hour, we know that a lot of those who are listening have not heard this discussion, have not had a conference with their families or friends or anyone to look at these issues about how they're aging and what they need to do. But let's talk about what palliative care is for those who are listening.
Palliative care is a medical specialty that provides specialized care for patients who are dealing with serious illnesses. And those serious illnesses could be anywhere from any stage of cancer, any organ ailment such as heart failure, COPD, emphysema, liver disease, dementia, and talk about what means quality to that individual who is going through the treatments and the diagnostics and undergoing the disease process. So what the palliative care experience is like, it's provided ideally by a physician, a nurse, a social worker, and a chaplain. So as a team process to really look at the person on a holistic level, not just as a disease. So in each patient's situation, every patient is very unique. We have to sit and listen to who the patient is, where they're at in their understanding of their disease, and also what is defining quality and trying to match the treatments that are available to them with the person that they are. So for instance, if somebody couldn't possibly stand not eating, and they suddenly sustained a stroke and they couldn't swallow, we have to know that so that we can advise in advance how best we can provide care and treatments tailored to that patient. Essentially, the movement of palliative care came from the hospice movement, and what hospice is truly just end-of-life care. If they have a prognosis of 6 months or less and a terminal illness, they qualify for hospice. It's a qualification that has been designated by Medicare. But palliative was finding that these patients were living longer with more serious conditions, still undergoing treatments, and they needed that extra layer of support. And that's what palliative care, that's the development of how palliative care came about.
But let's talk about what our listeners who are sitting at home are saying, though. They're worried that as they look at how government is, how insurance companies are, how hospitals are. They're looking at, well, these people are going to deny me care so that I don't get my mammogram, I don't get my colonoscopy, I don't get hospitalized. And so how does a older adult living in our community, listening to this show, get a better understanding so that the sense and feeling that and fear that they might be getting ripped off by the system in life, or for their loved one especially, how do we calm that down a little bit? How do we assure them that this isn't a rip-off problem? And we have to admit that there can be that problem, but there are ways in terms of communicating, looking things up on the internet, getting educated to figure that out.
Yeah. And one of the things that I always do for patients who are completely naive to palliative care is I have them check out the website getpalliativecare.org. This is really the gold standard of how palliative care is to be delivered, and it puts it in the language of the consumer or the patient, if you will. So it's very easy to read, very simple language, and that's really the type of care they're supposed to be receiving. Unfortunately, people have mistakenly used palliative care incorrectly. And where patients and family members get confused is when they're thinking palliative care, oh, they're supposed to be enhancing my quality, which is the true form of palliative care. Some of these insurance companies, or maybe even hospitals, may be saying, you're getting palliative care, but yet they're cutting, in some ways, something. Maybe they're trying to direct them to hospice and end-of-life care. Or maybe they're trying to direct them to a nursing home. Or in some ways, curbing some of the treatments that they're receiving. But truly, palliative care is supposed to be working alongside the patient's medical team. For instance, I can't go to a patient who is undergoing cancer treatments and tell them, your quality of life sucks and you need to stop your cancer treatments. That's just absolutely ridiculous, and that's not palliative care. What I can do is say, sounds like your quality of life needs to be enhanced, and here are some of the things that we can do to help you while you're undergoing your cancer treatments. Improve your sleep, improve your pain, improve your appetite, get you to gain some weight. You know, give them recommendations. What is meaningful to you? Getting outside and getting fresh air. So it unfortunately is being used incorrectly. But within our system, within the Providence system, we're very dedicated to the true form of palliative care, and it's very holistic. So it makes my job great.
Yes.
And, you know, I mentioned the part about the financial part, the insurance company part, especially in terms of Medicare, how Medicare, and it's hard to understand, but Medicare will pay for hospice care. And with hospice care, you get added services, especially at home. Since I do house calls, I see home care delivered pretty well with hospice care.
Sure.
But it's palliative care where some of our older adults need that better care in their home. That's not paid for by Medicare.
It's not.
And so you and I and our profession, all of us, we can't do anything about that until we legislate the rules differently, and we legislate the financial side of this differently. You know, what we need to do is say palliative care is a part of life. Palliative care is assuring that our patients at home live well at home with dignity, like we talked about.
Absolutely.
But if it's not being paid for, then what happens? Then the person doesn't get the care. And sometimes the people who don't use palliative care and hospice care correctly, they will dangle the hospice care because it gets paid for in front of the patient and say, well, you need to go on hospice care because you'll get more care. And that's a shameful way of using a system, a financial system, against our patients. How do our older adults be aware of it? Well, they have to read.
Yeah.
They have to
Yes,
hear
they
the
do.
horror stories and, take that into consideration and understand what hospice really does. And, I know, I'm not going to brag about what I write, but I do know that since I have written a lot about this, and it's, not only stayed here in Santa Clarita, it's gone all over. People have not criticized me for my opinion on hospice and palliative care and the way it's being paid for by government. People need to understand and get on the internet and figure out, for their loved ones and for themselves, how to make sure that they're not taken advantage of by false hospice and false palliative care,
Absolutely.
that true hospice. And that part of what we have is to sustain and maintain the dignity of our older adults, not only in our community, but throughout our nation. So we need to examine this very carefully because it's such a good thing that we have brought forward in our medical profession, but we lose some of it by people taking advantage of it.
That's very true. And it's we have to realize that people are living longer, much longer
Oh.
than they ever have.
Oh, it's
it's
beautiful.
It is, and most older adults are in relatively good condition, good health, because they have, at this point in our lives, we have learned that okay, we need to exercise, we need to eat healthy, and take good care of ourselves.
and keep our minds active.
Absolutely,
Keep our minds active.
minds active.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, if that means sitting down in front of a television set and watching Let's Make a Deal or Jeopardy, all those things, yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
And my mind's going, wait a minute. Okay, I know the answer to that. Yeah, I do that. And I'm thinking, whoa,
Usually I'm saying I don't know the answer to that.
Me neither.
My circuits are too slow.
Well, my mom is in her 70s and she's still working. She works up at
Wow.
Palmdale Regional.
Wow.
So
Good for
she
her.
is, just full-time, very active woman.
Well, I keep active myself, too.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's nothing that's going to keep me down other than a major, major illness. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
As long as I'm active and I'm around people and my mind is working, I'm good to go. And I plan on staying around a long time.
One of my uncles can totally beat me in Sudoku. He will do the most challenging ones,
wow.
and I can't do it. I just can't.
I have not even attempted that game. I won't go anywhere near it. I looked at it and I think, wait a minute, what do they want me to do? No. I'd rather work a crossword puzzle any day. Any day. Sudoku is, no, that's beyond me.
Crosswords are great. Before we go to sleep at night, we do a crossword.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, they're fun.
like last night, we were attempting to do, and we do LA Times crossword, which,
Oh, my goodness.
Mondays are not bad, but Saturdays are difficult.
Absolutely.
And in between, it gets harder and harder, through the week. But, so you can go on your cell phone and ask Siri, not for the answer, but, you can put the clue in and say crossword puzzle clue, and sometimes it comes up with the answer. And on occasion, we have to turn around and Robin will say to me, ask Siri.
That's cheating.
That is cheating, but it's fun. And last night there was a clue, and it was idiotic. That was the clue. And we couldn't get the answer, 4 letters. We couldn't get the answer, so I tried to figure out, and I thought to myself, I'm asking Siri the word idiotic, and here I am being idiotic, not knowing the answer.
Was it dumb?
Yeah, it was. The answer was dumb. Very good. You got it.
Yeah.
We need you.
Well, the interesting part about it is if you get the answer to one of them, it'll fill it out across, and then that helps you determine the ones that are going down.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what I try to do is get as many going across as I possibly can. And because that's going to give me clues
Oh yeah.
to ones, especially ones that wait a minute, what's that all about, And I come across a lot of those. But all of a sudden, the light turns on. I got it. And it's really, it's fun to be able to complete a crossword puzzle. I mean, complete it.
Simple luxuries.
Oh,
very
it's
simple
amazing.
luxuries.
It is. And
Yep.
there's another puzzle that I think is in the Daily News, and they have all kinds of letters in them. And down at the bottom, you have to find the words. You have to go up there and put a loop around them when you find the words. And I
the word
love
search.
those.
Yeah,
Yes,
those are wonderful.
I love those. And I'm still working on one, and I'm trying to find iron, IRON, and I have not been able to find it. And I'll be darned if I'm going to throw it out
Until you
before I
find
find it. It's a real challenge. But those kinds of things are good for you, especially as
Absolutely.
you get older, because it keeps your mind active.
Absolutely.
It forces you to think. And if you can't think of it, then you have possibly a computer to go to.
Or maybe a
or
grandkid.
A dictionary or a grandkid. You aren't kidding. Boy, they're a heck of a lot smarter than you
Oh,
think
my
they are.
goodness.
But it's interesting. One thing that upset me this morning, I was in the doctor's office, and there was a mother who had I think she was probably 4-year-old daughter in a wheelchair. And the 4-year-old was on a cell phone. And so was the mother. And I'm thinking, oh no. This young child was in a wheelchair and she was playing around on a cell phone. And I thought, what is that mother doing to that child? And what is that mother doing to herself? I couldn't believe it. I really could not. And I came so close to saying something. But the reception office was quite full of people. And I thought, no, Barbara, keep your mouth shut. But, I wanted to tell that mother off
But
so
why,
bad.
Barb? Why? I mean, to me, that technology, we're going to keep moving forward, and that technology is like our crossword puzzles from before. Now they're going to be doing it and will it? You're right. Your thought is right that maybe it won't exercise those circuits as much as it should. And that could be a problem where the machines are thinking more for us and we're not thinking as much
That's exactly it. Plus, why wasn't she using a color book and some crayons?
being creative.
Being creative instead of looking at this machine
Yeah.
and seeing these things dart across. And it upset me so much. And it's
Well-
interesting when my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids come over, you don't open your cell phone at all. They stay in your pocket. We're here to communicate with one another,
Right.
to play games if necessary, but keep your head out of that silly machine. Oh,
Especially if you're doing a crossword puzzle, you don't want to ask Surrey when you got all these family
No,
members who
no.
might know the answer to dumb.
they
Right?
probably do know the answer.
Dumb,
Mean. Oh my
idiotic.
gosh.
Well, I think Evil Eye over here says we need to take a break, right? Yes. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, KHTS.
If you're tired of your nail polish chipping a day or two after an expensive manicure, then you'll love the gel nail polish manicure now offered by Ann. Ann is a licensed manicure serving the Santa Clarita Valley in Canyon Country for over 15 years. And now she's offering the gel manicure that lasts without chipping for up to 2 weeks. Log on to hometownstation.com for details on how to get an amazing deal on gel nails by Ann on Restaurant Row, or call Ann at 250-8340.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
She's one of country music's most beloved artists, and she's coming to Santa Clarita. It's Academy of Country Music Award winner, Sarah Evans. At the Canyon Club in Santa Clarita on June 4th. She's sold millions of records, has been at the top of the country charts 5 times, and has just released her 8th studio album, Words. It's Sarah Evans. And featuring our own Savannah Burrows. Sarah Evans with special guest Savannah Burrows, June 4th at the Canyon Club in the Valencia Town Center. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome to the Senior Hour. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jane Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. Woohoo! What is all this giggling over here?
Oh, we're
Is he
talking about our.
entertaining you?
Yeah, well, we're
Yes.
talking
Oh.
about my cell phone, which is not working. So I'm not going to say anything this week, but you can kind of figure if it's not working next week, then I'm going to blab who the company is.
Yeah, well,
and, as a
it's
doctor,
critical.
and
Do you still have a pager?
it's a part of the cell phone. That's my problem. But they did teach me how to use my Wi-Fi on my cell phone at home.
Oh, okay.
But now I face these other challenges that I figured out today. I've spent more time on trying to figure this out than I have even with my patients. And I've kind of lost patience literally and figuratively because I don't have cell phone reception, no service. And for those of you who are listening who are facing the same thing, you call here right away because we're gonna go pick at somebody.
Does Robin have the same problem?
Different phone
Carrier?
system. It's a different carrier, and so I have thought I'm moving on, but I've worked something out which doesn't seem to be working out. But it is a challenge. But it's one of these things where it's like end of life, or at least palliative care, because I'm thinking that hey, I've had this same carrier for decades,
Right.
and it's kind of failing for me, and I worry that I want to continue doing and practicing the way I have practiced before, but maybe you can. It's like living life too.
Right.
Here is end of life, and if you're not prepared, and I wasn't prepared for this cell phone debacle, but I think what listeners are hearing today is that you don't want to be caught in a situation where you haven't discussed end of life, palliative and hospice care.
Absolutely. And making sure that you not only have those conversations, but ideally document either with your doctor in a doctor's visit who would make decisions for you, or put it in a document, which does not require much. You can download it for free right off of the California website for advanced care planning. And it doesn't even need to be notarized, just witnessed by two two individuals that are not family members. So it's very easy.
And that's a critical thing to do.
It really is. It really
absolutely is.
Because listen, I'm not going to be naive and think that every family is ideal and beautiful, and there are lots of families that are broken. There are families that have estranged children. And
did you say strange or estranged?
Estranged.
Oh,
And strange.
And strange.
And strange too. And they may come out of the woodwork and suddenly try to impose their values.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth the argument.
No, it is
So
not.
But it does happen.
It absolutely
and because it does happen,
happens.
people have to be aware of that. So
Absolutely.
to not only discuss it, but do exactly what you just said, is to document on official legal paperwork what your thoughts and your feelings and what you want is so important. And when you do that, I will tell you that every single one of my patients has felt relief.
It
have
really
not
is.
had to go through the struggles, the mental, physical, financial struggles that families sometimes, many times, go through. So that discussion, legally putting it in writing, having it out there so people know, is so important to peace of mind.
Absolutely. So I always, whenever I see someone who has completed an advance directive, when they cross my way, I always recognize it. I discuss it with them, and frankly, I give them accolades for it because it's an accomplishment. It's great.
Yes.
And we talked about how there are some physicians who just aren't up to par yet on having this discussion. But if you're the patient and your doctor isn't familiar with it, they can probably refer you to someone like yourself who might
or
have that
yourself.
discussion.
Yeah.
Or you can just get them up to par by looking things up and going into the office setting and say, I want advanced care planning. I want to understand what my options are going to be, where I'm going to go, where I'm taking my life. That road to San Francisco, I want to know that road. I want to know, the bumps in it, the where I can get gas and where I'm going to, end up having problems. I want to know that, So everybody will find comfort in knowing that direction and how they're settled in it. And I guarantee that I know my patients, we have that discussion. So my patients, when it comes to end of life, they're ready. They're all set. And they're not worried about the sad part about it, the financial part about it, the infighting that could happen. They're not worried about it. They already know the direction they're going. They already know what they've inked into a legal paper. So they prepare themselves emotionally and mentally for end of life, and they're happy. They're content, and I think they feel, as we talked about, having the dignity that they deserve
And at ease.
And at ease.
And just feel, and that's a component of quality of life.
Absolutely.
Oh, it really is. I know that we have to go to the family has to go to the attorney today to
Your family.
to restructure the trust.
I see.
As it has to be completely different now, and I just put that information on this piece of paper, this healthcare directive and power of attorney and all that kind of stuff, just to remind me that to make sure it's in that trust or some form of something is in there.
Right.
So-
So you need to make sure that you have the right person speaking for you.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
We always have just interesting but great educational conversations, Dr. Kalani, when you come on the show, and
thank you so
we
much.
appreciate that. And you're with Providence Holy Cross, and they've done just a fabulous job. And I know with you're wearing the shoes there, and it's just been great that you've come and shared all this information for our listeners.
Thank you so much.
thanks.
I'm so privileged. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
We appreciate it. We are
Hope to see you soon.
Yes, absolutely.
We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.